Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the B segment of episode 30 of The Loud House, Back in Black. We begin this segment with Lincoln working on a model solar system as a school project. But then he gets startled when Lucy does her usual pop out of nowhere routine, and she accidentally spills some fake blood on the project during that. So the two of them work together to clean it up. Lucy admits that she's trying to find just the right ingredients to make the fake blood as authentic as possible, and she goes off to find some more ingredients. Soon enough, Rusty Spokes arrives because he's Lincoln's partner for this school project, and because both his parents are working right now, he brings his younger brother, Rocky, along to keep an eye on him. Lincoln's cool with that, and he seems to have met Rocky before since he greets him in a familiar manner. Soon enough, Lucy happens to see Rocky, and well, she seems quite surprised, but she runs off before Rocky, or Rusty and Lincoln for that matter, know that she was there in the first place. We then have a few scenes where Rocky is just passing time in the Loud House while his brother works on the project with Lincoln. And Lucy does her usual lurk in the shadows routine, and she does her usual say sigh out loud routine, but she keeps disappearing before Rocky can see her, so he doesn't know what's going on exactly. Later on, Lucy is in her room where she is trying to assure her beloved Edwin that while he will always be her soulmate, she thinks it would be nice to have a mortal companion, and she does consider Rocky to be cute. Luckily for Lucy, Edwin is quite understanding of this. And later on, while Rocky looks through the refrigerator, he comes across Lucy's fake blood. And Lucy startles him, and the fake blood gets all over his shirt and his face. And Lucy, well, she pops up again later where she tries to offer him a clean shirt, one of Lincoln's shirts, but yeah, she's trying to talk to Rocky, but Rocky seems to be in a state of panic and he runs out of the house. Rusty, concerned for his brother, goes off after him, and he trusts that Lincoln will be able to finish the rest of the project on his own. Lincoln goes to Lucy to question what's going on, and Lucy admits that she does find Rocky cute and that she's trying to talk to him, but he had ran off before she could say too much else to him. Lincoln wonders if maybe Rocky just doesn't have the same interests as Lucy. And when Lucy questions him what Rocky does like, Lincoln admits he doesn't know Rocky nearly as well as he does Rusty, and says as far as he's aware of, Rocky just seems to be a regular, ordinary kid. Lucy repeats these words to herself as she walks upstairs. Later on, Lori, Lenny, and Lola are all arguing with each other because they're accusing each other of taking one of their belongings. Lipstick, a dress, and perfume, those are the belongings. But as they continue to argue, Lola finally smells her perfume, and she, along with Lori and Lenny, follow the scent into Lynn and Lucy's room, where they find out Lucy was the one that took their belongings. Lucy doesn't beat around the bush, though. She admits her reasons for taking them, and she apologizes. But the trio are actually not all that upset because they admit that they've always wanted to give Lucy a makeover for a long time, and it turns out it's all the Loud Sisters. That's not an exaggeration. The rest of the Loud Sisters are quite excited by this news when they hear that the time has finally come. So they all try to give Lucy various new outfits and new hairstyles, and eventually they settle on a pink outfit with blonde hair, although the hair is still covering her eyes, so that's still a mystery. And they try to give her advice about what to do the next time she runs into Rocky. Lincoln manages to catch a glimpse of Lucy in her new outfit and the new hair, and at first he doesn't realize it's Lucy until the rest of the sisters clarify what they had done. Lincoln voices his doubts about this course of action, but they blow off his concerns and just tell him to get Rusty back at the house with and to bring Rocky along, figuring that they still have work to do on their project. But Lincoln shows them that he actually completed the project until Lynn wrecks it with a hockey stick to justify Rusty coming over with Rocky tagging along. Sure enough, they return. Rusty returns to work on the damaged project while Rocky is tagging along. And another part of this plan is Lori wants to arrange a double date for mini golf where she and Bobby were supposed to go with another couple, but the other couple couldn't make it, so they decide to have Lucy with Rocky tag along. And while they're at the golf course, or the mini golf course, Lori tries to still subtly give advice to Lucy, and she tries to have Bobby help out with the plan, but things don't go very well. It doesn't turn out to be a very successful outing. Although Bobby and Rocky seem to be cool with each other, so something good came out of it. Lucy is sad when she and Lori return home, and the sisters all apologize, figuring that they probably went a little too overboard with the makeover and deciding Lucy is great the way she normally is. But Lucy assures them that she's not angry at them, and she understands that they really meant well, had their hearts in the right place. But she decides she's gonna sit in the dark for a while because that helps her feel better. Lincoln happens to be walking down the hall when he sees Lucy heading into her coffin, and he feels bad for his sister. And when Lucy calls for her pet bat, Fanes flies by Lincoln, which startles him and breaks the project again. And so the next day, Lincoln is at Rusty's house to fix the project, since Rusty doesn't trust it anywhere near the Loud House. And soon enough, Rocky walks by, and he looks like he's covered in blood, which causes his older brother to faint. But Rocky assures Lincoln it's just fake blood. He said he was inspired by Lucy's fake blood, thinking it was cool. This gives Lincoln an idea. He breaks the project and tells Rusty when he regains consciousness that Rusty accidentally broke it when he fainted, and convinces him they should head back to his house because the project isn't any safer where they are now, and Rusty ends up agreeing. And while they're working on the project at the Loud House, Lincoln notices Lucy heading into the kitchen, and he requests Rocky to find some sodas for them if it isn't too much trouble. When Lucy's putting her fake blood away and she closes the refrigerator door, she sees Rocky there, and she's the one who gets startled this time around. And Rocky comments that he's glad to see that Lucy is back to her usual look, and it takes a moment, but Lucy is surprised to hear this because she thought that Rocky didn't like how her usual look because of how panicked he was when she first tried to talk to him. Rocky admits that he thought Lucy was actually really cool, too cool for him, and he was scared because he didn't know what to say to her. And the two of them share a blush together, and Lucy wants to know if Rocky would be interested in seeing her coffin collection. Rocky says as long as he doesn't have to go inside of it. Finally, Lincoln and Rusty finish the project yet again, and they try to form a protective barrier around it. And they try to do this when they bring it to school the next day. But they run into their younger siblings, Lucy and Rocky, and they admit that they definitely hit it off very well, and they're definitely actually hanging out with each other more at the very least. And they even work together to create the most authentic fake blood possible. They even put some popcorn in there to represent brain matter. This causes Rusty to faint, and sadly the segment ends with the project being broken yet again. Now, this segment stands out. It reminded me of house music because this felt more like one of the Loud Sisters being the viewpoint character rather than Lincoln. And it was nice to have another segment where Lucy got to be the main focus. And we did get Lucy in the spotlight for Sleuth or Consequences, but like I said, I think this one delved a little more into what Lucy is like, and I think that was a good call. And we did get to learn more about one of Lincoln's other friends. I had mentioned before that there would be a segment where Rusty would be the friend that Lincoln hung out with throughout the segment, and this is the one I was talking about. This time around, it was Lincoln and Rusty working on the project rather than Lincoln or Clyde, which would Lincoln and Clyde, which would be the more expected route. And like I said, that was a nice touch. Nothing against Clyde, but it is nice to see Lincoln interact with some other friends of his. And it was in this segment where we got to learn that Rusty has a younger brother, Rocky. And I should mention this, it wasn't clarified if Spokes actually is Rusty's last name or if Spokes was just part of his biker code name back in Hand Me Downer, because Rusty actually is his real name. And to be fair, yeah, Rusty can be a real name in real life. So, but they never actually clarified if Spokes is the family's last name. But most people have rolled with that, so I mean, yeah, it would be nice if the staff members or the crew members could give us a more clear answer or an explicit answer, but yeah, for now I'll say Spokes is their last name, so we'll just roll with it. And as for Rocky, yeah, he seemed like a nice kid, and it was pretty fun to see he actually does share some of Lucy's interests. And we do find out, yeah, he was only really just he only was just scared of what he would say around Lucy, and yeah, that's a good lesson about how poor communication can cause misunderstandings, and misunderstandings have a way of causing problems that weren't intended to begin with. But it all worked out in the end. Rocky made it clear that he likes Lucy the way she is, and yeah, I don't know if I don't think they're actually dating. I mean, they're just 8 years old. And I mean, what 8-year-old dates? Or I don't know any 8-year-olds that ever dated. So I'm sure, yeah, it's just they're just hanging out more. And yeah, that's okay. I mean, in the future, if they ever do decide to, cool. At least they form a stronger bond. But yeah, I know some people, they like Lucy and Rocky together, and I can see why. I mean, I can see why they think it's a cute pairing or cute ship, if you will. Yeah, I thought it was nice to see Lucy interacting with other kids her age. I thought that was a nice touch overall. And this segment reminded me of Heavy Metal a bit too, in the sense how the other Loud Sisters were, they really wanted to be involved with one of their siblings' lives when it came to potentially having a potential crush or the possibility of dating, because again, yeah, they're kids, so I wouldn't really expect them to actually date, but you get the idea. I'm sure you know what I'm getting at here. And it was nice because it showed it isn't just Lincoln that they want to meddle in that affair. It's all of their, it seems to be all of the siblings. I think one of the recent podcasts that Nickelodeon have done with the show, if I'm remembering right, I believe one of them had clarified that some of the other sisters had kind of meddled or tried to get involved when Lori was first dating Bobby. One of the sisters tried to help out, and like heavy metal, what I liked about this segment is that the Loud Sisters were portrayed in a sympathetic light. Yeah, they kind of did meddle a little. They kind of went overboard with the giving Lucy the makeover, but as Lucy acknowledged, they really did mean well, and it wasn't out of malice. And at the same time, the sisters did acknowledge they went overboard, so I think it was nice to show they all came to an understanding, and that was nice. It's definitely something I'd like to see more of in the show. But I think that's a good way to handle showing characters or a character that have good intentions, but things not going quite as well as you would hope despite their good intentions. And this segment also made a lot of people wonder if Lucy is naturally blonde because she had the blonde hair during the makeover. And at least half of the sisters are shown to be blonde. So that led people to wonder, is Lucy naturally blonde and she just dyes her hair black? Because neither of the Loud parents are shown to have black hair. But on the other hand, some later segments seem to point in the direction that Lucy may actually have naturally black hair. And to be fair, Lincoln is shown to have naturally white hair for his young age. And yeah, genetics can have its share of quirks, so it honestly wouldn't surprise me if Lucy actually is naturally black hair. I suspect that might have just been a wig she was wearing. But we'll cross that bridge later when we come to the other segments that bring up the possibility of Lucy's hair color being naturally black. The one part it seems a lot of people didn't like about this segment was how Lincoln's project kept breaking. Like, I know a lot of people were not happy about how Lynn broke the project in the first place just to have an excuse for Rusty to come back with Rocky. But on the other hand, some people didn't mind it so much because they were like, Lincoln ended up breaking the project himself later to do the same thing, so why would anyone be bothered by it? But on the other hand, people point out, even so, they think that it's the sisters starting it in the first place, because if it didn't break the first time, it would probably have been kept safe longer, and they probably would have been able to turn it in without any damage. So I can understand both sides of that, and yeah, I think people have a valid point that there really could have been better ways to convince Rusty to come over with Rocky. Like, they could have just had Lincoln question Rusty to say, hey, you just want to hang out, and yeah, if your parents are gone, maybe you can bring Rocky along too. Like, I think that would have been, I guess I could see how some people just think, like, just state the simple solution. So they think it might have been a bit of complexity addiction on the Loud Sisters' part. So I wouldn't call it the worst thing the Loud Sisters have ever done to Lincoln, but at the same time, I can understand why people think it was a bit inconsiderate on their part, and I can see how people would be against it because there was a much more simple solution that didn't revolve damaging a school project. So, yeah, I can understand that, but overall, I did enjoy this segment. I thought it was a good segment overall. And with that said, we've now discussed both segments of episode 30 on this channel. Take care, and until next time.